This is Upper Albert Road in central Hong Kong. Stand here at just the right time each month and you'd witness a strange sight. A car delivering 433,000 Hong Kong dollars, or 55,000 US, in cash to a nearby home. Inside the house, you'd find what could only be the sure sign of a criminal. Stacks and stacks of cash, about 670,000 US dollars accumulating each year. No bank, no matter how big or small, local or international, is brave enough to do business with this highly suspicious character. This place is known as Government House, and this person is none other than the chief executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. To be clear, this is the highest authority in the territory, its local equivalent to president or prime minister. And yet, she's completely unable to open a bank account in her own territory, even by her own banks. Because no company, whether American, European, or Chinese, will touch her money, Carrie Lam receives her salary hand-delivered in cash. With no credit card to make purchases, she has no way of paying for Netflix or doing some online shopping. Financially, she's been exiled to the 1800s, and all while living in one of the world's best places to shop. The reason for all this is simple. A person in a country 8,000 miles away signed a piece of paper. The President of the United States and the Hong Kong Autonomy Act. Such is the unparalleled power of the American government and prominence of the US dollar. As long as the world continues transacting in its currency, the world will have no choice but to play by its rules. Although it will surely never happen, the US Treasury could, in theory, make the state-run Bank of China close the Chinese bank account of General Secretary Xi Jinping. But this exorbitant privilege wielded by the US need not last forever. If the collective world chose the renminbi instead, China would have this power, and a growing number of experts are concerned exactly that may happen. Likely within the next 6 months to a year, China will become the first major country to launch a digital currency, the progress of which is years at least ahead of the US. Could this be the beginning of the end for the US dollar, and with it, its ability to financially exile anyone it wishes? Sponsored by CuriosityStream and Nebula. Get both for just $15 a year, and watch the extended version of this video over on Nebula. The US dollar has seen its fair share of rivals, most recently the euro, but even at its most tenuous moments has still had plenty of room to fall. Today, in 2021, it comprises about 60% of global currency reserves, a figure made only more impressive when compared to its closest competitors. The next most popular currency is the euro at only 20%. Where is China's renminbi? Way down here at about 2%, if you can even see it. That's despite the fact that its economy makes up about 1/6 of the world's GDP. Zoom out, however, and things get a bit more complicated. Some interpret this graph as proving the dollar is here to stay. It is, in fact, more widely held now than 40 years ago. Others see a market ripe for disruption. Its trend, however slow, is clearly downward, they would argue. And besides, currency reserves are very much winner-take-all. 2% may not sound like a lot, but actually places the renminbi in 5th place. Thanks to network effects, if the world were to change its mind on the dollar, the shift may happen fast, with the new winner taking a dominant position like the dollar today. Which brings us to the digital yuan. While it's still being tested, the exact details are uncertain, but it's expected to launch as early as next February's Winter Olympics. Officially called the Digital Currency Electronic Payment System, the idea is to make a one-to-one digital version of cash, with many of the same properties. Like cash, for example, you may not need a bank account, and it will have the same legal status. You'd be able to deposit money from your bank or an ATM, and send money to others directly, likely without a fee. If this sounds revolutionary, you've surely never stepped foot in China. While a few of these features might be novel in most countries, China is light years ahead when it comes to mobile payments. Paying for everything with your phone is massively more convenient than cash or credit card. Unfortunately, China uses neither. At least 85% of Chinese adults with access to the internet use mobile payments, for everything from groceries and gas to paying parking tickets. You won't go 10 steps without seeing one of these signs. Neither does the digital yuan solve a problem of fragmentation. 94% use WeChat or Alipay. In fact, all it does is introduce one more standard. Now, you might assume digital means cryptocurrency, but central bank digital currencies are not in any way cryptocurrencies. Neither are they blockchains. Neither are they decentralized or permissionless. In other words, virtually every limitation of regular cash applies to digital cash as well. The digital yuan is the very antithesis of cryptocurrency. The latter promises a future free from government intervention, a world where no one can be blocked from the financial system, one that is totally anonymous. Whether you see those things as features or bugs, China's invention is the exact opposite. The central bank controls who can participate, the printing of money, and everything in between. Some claim it would allow money to move faster than bank transfers, but most mobile wallets are already instant. Some claim it would allow for new and interesting monetary policies, like making unused stimulus checks expire after a crisis is over. But experts have rightly pointed out that this is already possible. So what exactly is special or unique about it? There is one party for whom this will truly be revolutionary: the government. While it can and does already request data from banks and payment platforms, this information is necessarily delayed, and cash goes undetected. When payments are made directly to and from the central bank, authorities will have a real-time window into every transaction in the country. Nothing will slide under the radar, including money laundering, gambling, and any other form of illegal activity. If and when physical cash disappears, there will be nowhere for corrupt politicians or tax evaders to hide. Finally, power will shift from private companies like Ant and Tencent over to the state. Companies may design the apps and interfaces that citizens interact with, but the actual levers of policy will be firmly in the hands of the government, rather than 1 degree removed. This is not unique. Every government wants tighter control over its economy, but for China, the issue takes on a particular urgency. It cannot afford to be late if doing so means ceding control to a private company, or worse, a foreign private company. For users, though, it will appear as though China invented PayPal or Apple Pay. Just one more app to use with no real advantage. The problem won't be adoption. If necessary, the government will simply force it upon the public. The real challenge is international adoption. Replacing the yuan with the digital yuan is relatively easy, but not revolutionary. Replacing the dollar with the yuan would be revolutionary, but is far from easy. The reason countries choose the dollar is not because of its technical superiority. After all, most financial transactions are already digital, just ones and zeros moving from one account to another. No, the world chooses the dollar because of its stability, liquidity, and transparency. 3 things which a digital currency does absolutely nothing to address. You'll know China is serious about internationalizing the renminbi when it makes the costly trade-off of removing capital controls and letting its exchange rate float freely. Until then, sources proclaiming the end of the US dollar and threat of the digital yuan are at best motivational tools, and at worst, deceptive fear-mongering. There is, however, another invention that may help China evade sanctions. If it were to succeed, it would mark the beginning of a new era of US-China relations and separation. It's called CIPS, and I explain what it is exactly right now in the extended version of this video on Nebula. Roughly every other Polymatter video has an extended or bonus version on Nebula, plus there are no ads or sponsors, and even exclusive originals. Just in the past week, for example, all of these channels have posted exclusive bonus content on Nebula, including Half as Interesting, Renee Ritchie, Legal Eagle, and Thomas Frank. My favorite recent original is Kento Bento's beautifully animated story of the most insane hijacking in Japanese history. Plus, we've partnered with CuriosityStream, home to great documentaries on technology, history, and science, like this one about the amazing journey oil takes to get to our gas stations, so that you can get it and Nebula for less than $15 a year. Sign up with the link in the description and watch the extended version of this video over on Nebula.